How do I determine if the S&P is cheap or expensive? I like the Buffett indicator. And oh, by the way, guys, you want to see, I'll give you some insider information right now that I was going to tweet out, and I totally spaced it. I didn't even know this, but I looked at the market cap to GDP, which is basically the Buffett indicator. And just recently, since the cerveza sickness, it's the only time in history. See that blue line? That blue line, that indicates market cap. Okay, so basically the stock market. That the green line, that indicates GDP. There, you can barely see it, but in the GFC, the green actually dipped down. So GDP went down. And then, of course, the stock market went down by, what, 50%? Something like that. But right now, in the cerveza sickness, GDP is plummeting, as we all know, but the stock market's going up. And it sounds crazy to say that out loud, and we've heard it so many times, but look at the chart. Going all the way back to the 1970s, that's never happened, ever, not once. But the only time nominal GDP went down during the GFC, the stock market went down by 50%. That's the only time nominal GDP went down, other than now. Now, nominal GDP has gone down by even more, but the stock market hasn't gone down by 50%. It's gone up. It's gone up. So if you're asking me, how I determine if the S&P is cheap or if it's expensive, that's one way right there. If GDP is going in the toilet and the stock market is going straight up, in my opinion, that means the stock market's expensive. Or just look at the delta. See, look at this. See how the green line almost consistently since the 1970s has been higher than the blue line. That means that nominal GDP is higher than the market cap of the stock market, as it should be, except for just these little points like right there in the dot-com bust or the dot-com bubble. It peaked up just right before the GFC, same thing. Now, look at the delta. I can't even point it. Look at that. Look at how huge the gap is between nominal GDP and the market cap of the stock market. Unbelievable. So anybody that says that the stock market isn't expensive right now, they just don't know what they're talking about. They're living in a fantasy world, and they're just trying to rationalize things. And then the argument that you always hear is that, oh, well, these valuations are justified because interest rates are so low. What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, let's think that through. So on that logic, you should buy Japan, because the valuations are even lower in Japan and you have negative yields. So if that's your rationale for something being cheap, you should be buying Japan, not the United States. and then you should be buying Europe before the United States, right? So that doesn't make any sense. So just look at the Buffett indicator, and you don't want to have anything to do with the stock market unless, and now that said too, there's nuance in that. Because why is market cap so high? Because the breadth is so narrow that market cap is being driven by like just a handful of stocks that are just worth trillions of dollars now. So the market, so there can be opportunities within the stock market. There might be cheap stocks, but as a whole, it's just wildly overpriced, but that might be due to just a few stocks, maybe 10 or 12. So there's a lot of nuance in there, to say the least. But just from a macro standpoint, that's how I determine, just by looking at it quickly, if the stock market is cheap or if it's expensive. And when that green line, again, gets above the blue line, that's when I want to be a buyer of the S&P. I'm not a hater against the U.S. stock market. I'm totally agnostic. I just want to buy things when they're cheap. And I don't care what it is. If it's cheap, I'm interested.